Hey there, and welcome to today's deep dive. We are really glad you're joining us for this one.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us. We've got a pretty wild topic today.
We really do. I mean, I want you to just imagine a quiet Jewish settlement built back in the 1940s. Just a small, totally self-sustaining community focused on dairy farming and agriculture, sitting right on this pristine coast.
That's idyllic, right?
Right. But then, fast forward to 2026. That exact same stretch of land is now like bathed in neon, blasting reggaeton into the early hours of the morning, and it is internationally famous in solo travel circles as a, quote, single men's paradise.
It is a massive, massive leap.
It really is. And today, our mission is figuring out how on earth a place makes that kind of jump. Because you sent us this huge stack of notes along with a really incredible source video.
Oh, that footage was amazing.
It was. It's this raw, unfiltered 4K walking tour titled The Pulse of Sosua, a 2026 Dominican travel guide. And just, reading through your notes, the thing that immediately stood out to me was how much this single town defies every normal rule of global tourism.
Yeah, no, it really does break the mold. I mean, when you look at the landscape of international travel right now, destinations tend to become highly predictable over time.
Yeah.
You have your curated theme parks, your, sanitized all-inclusive resorts, your historical museum cities. But the footage you shared of Sosua, Dominican Republic, it captures a town that is wrestling with its own explosive growth while actively, refusing to be put into a neat little box.
It's messy.
Exactly. We are looking at a live ecosystem.
Which is exactly why we're diving into this for you today. Because the guide calls it a single men's paradise, which honestly can sound like a cheap marketing gimmick on the surface.
Oh, for sure.
But when you look at the actual geography and the economics of how this place functions, you start to see why it exploded. So to get a real sense of it, you kind of have to understand where you are on the map.
Right. The location is key.
Yeah. Sosua is in the Puerto Plata province on the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. And the critical detail in this 2026 guide is the logistics. It's literally just a few minutes drive from the Gregorio Luperón International Airport.
And that proximity is, well, it's the hidden engine of everything we are about to discuss.
How so?
Because in the mechanics of global tourism, travel friction dictates your demographic.
Oh, travel friction.
Right. So if a beautiful beach requires a flight, a 3-hour layover, and then a 6-hour bus ride up a mountain.
You're exhausted.
Exactly. And you attract backpackers and slow travelers, people with time. But when you place an international airport 10 or 15 minutes away from a coastal town, you completely change the economic velocity.
Wow, yeah.
You attract weekend warriors, you attract solo travelers flying in from New York, Toronto, or London who want to land and, be holding a drink on the beach an hour later.
Right. You land, you clear customs, and you are immediately dropped into the heartbeat of the town, which is the Sosua Strip.
It's instant.
It is. And the 4K footage you sent gives such a vivid, most sensory overload of what this strip looks like. During the day, the camera pans across this incredibly colorful, relaxed stretch. You see these small local shops, open-air restaurants, little juice bars.
It looks so peaceful.
It really does. There are vendors right there on the street, aggressively but cheerfully, selling fresh coconuts, handmade souvenirs, cigars. And you can almost feel the heat. But the guide notes that there's this really comfortable ocean breeze rolling in off the Atlantic.
Yeah, the visual evidence in the guide portrays a very classic, almost idyllic Caribbean daytime economy.
Totally.
The tempo is slow, you can see the heat in the way people are moving, but it functions exactly like a sleepy beach town where the primary goal is just to, exist in the sun.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The video then cuts to the nighttime footage of that exact same street.
Oh, man.
And the transformation is jarring. I mean, it doesn't even look like the same town.
Not at all.
The sun goes down, and the volume goes from a 2 to a 10 immediately. Music is pouring out of every open door and window. And it's not a unified sound, right? It's a chaotic, overlapping mix of loud bachata from one bar, merengue from the next.
Heavy reggaeton across the street.
Yes, heavy reggaeton, international club hits mixing in the air. Beautiful Dominican women are dancing, socializing.
And look at the crowd dynamics in that night footage, too. The sleepy sidewalks are suddenly packed. It becomes an incredibly dense, highly social environment.
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder.
You have locals, tourists, and expats all forced into this shared, vibrant space.
Reading this and watching the footage you provided, it struck me that the appeal isn't just about the music or the beach. It's like a complete rejection of the corporate, sanitized resort model.
It really is an act of rejection.
Right. It's like a Caribbean Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. How does that stark day and night contrast actually play into the town's appeal?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the source explicitly notes that this is not an all-inclusive experience.
Yeah, they make a big point of that.
They do, because the appeal lies in this very rejection of the sanitized, walled-off resort tourism in favor of a reality that the guide calls loud, alive, and impossible to forget.
It almost feels like looking at two different operating systems. Like an all-inclusive resort like you find in Punta Cana is like a walled garden, like an Apple product.
Okay, I like this analogy.
Yeah, everything is curated, it's safe, the drinks are perfectly measured, the music is controlled by corporate hospitality standards. Yeah. But Sosua feels like open source software. It's messy, anyone can contribute to the code, it crashes sometimes, but you have total freedom. You're trading the safety of the resort for chaos.
And that chaos is the actual product. That is a phenomenal way to frame it. The open source model versus the walled garden. Because in a walled garden, you are a passive consumer. You sit by the pool and wait for a uniformed waiter to bring you a heavily iced, watered-down drink.
Right, you're just existing.
But in an open source environment like the Sosua Strip, you have to be an active participant. You have to navigate the crowds, engage with the locals, negotiate prices, and just, lean into the sensory overload.
Which brings us back to that massive historical contradiction we started with.
The 1940s leap.
Yes, because an open source, chaotic nightlife hub drawing thousands of solo men doesn't just magically appear out of thin air.
No, it takes decades.
Right, you don't just snap your fingers and turn a patch of quiet sand into an international party destination. The source material outlines this timeline, and the missing link between the 1940s and 2026 is what I really want to pull apart here.
It's a bizarre timeline.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. We know Sosua was once a quiet Jewish settlement in the 1940s. How does a quiet settlement make the massive leap to becoming one of the most talked about nightlife destinations in Latin America and the Caribbean?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to realize that this town's evolution wasn't master planned by a corporate hospitality board.
So no big CEO in a boardroom mapping it out.
Exactly. It was shaped over decades by the energy of the people, the natural draw of the beach, and the cultural warmth.
But how did it literally transition from farming to bars?
Right. So in the late 1930s and 1940s, the Dominican Republic accepted Jewish refugees fleeing Europe. They settled in Sosua and essentially had to build a town from scratch.
Okay, so they were laying down the actual foundational infrastructure.
Exactly. They built a dairy and meat industry. They laid out roads, plumbing, electrical grids, a whole European-style town layout.
Wow.
But after the war in the 50s and 60s, many of those original settlers ended up leaving.
So they leave the town behind.
Right. So consider what is left. You have a fully functional, structured town sitting on a stunning piece of Caribbean coastline, but with a rapidly dwindling population.
Ah, so you have an abundance of developed real estate, but no one living in it, which means it's cheap.
Precisely. It created a real estate vacuum. Fast forward to the 1970s and 80s, and backpackers, mostly from Europe and Canada, start exploring the northern coast.
And they stumble upon Sosua?
Yep. It's not a jumble they have to clear. It's a town with infrastructure, gorgeous beaches, and incredibly cheap property. So instead of a massive multinational corporation coming in and buying 5 miles of coastline to build a mega resort.
Like what happened in Punta Cana.
Exactly. Instead of that, Sosua was bought up piecemeal.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So an individual expat or a local entrepreneur buys one small building and turns it into a bar.
Right.
Another buys a house and turns it into a 6-room guest house.
Yes. The development was microeconomic rather than macroeconomic. It was decentralized. And because it was decentralized, it was never subjected to a corporate master plan.
It was just organic.
Completely. The town evolved bar by bar, restaurant by restaurant, reflecting the exact desires of the people who were actually there, slowly turning it into this whispered about legend in solo traveler communities.
So, having established that legendary history and the electric vibe, we need to move to the core question of this 2026 guide. Has this evolution gone too far?
It's the big debate right now.
It is.
Yeah.
And we need to address the elephant in the room here, that label of the single men's paradise. And just to be clear to you listening, we're not taking sides or endorsing the viewpoints of this content. We're simply trying to impartially convey the ideas contained in the original source material.
Right. We're just looking at what the 2026 guide is telling us.
Exactly. And the guide neutrally reports that this reputation as a single men's paradise is still accurate today.
Yeah, it notes the high energy and the freedom of the atmosphere that continues to make it a top destination for solo male travelers.
But the guide also points out a pretty major caveat. Sosua in 2026 is not exactly what it was 10 or 15 years ago.
No, it has definitely changed.
The town has developed. Some of those legendary, gritty, old dive spots that put it on the map for early solo travelers are just gone. They've been bulldozed or bought out. Prices have adjusted upward.
The physical landscape has shifted.
Yeah. So I have to ask, does this development risk ruining the exact, raw, unfiltered freedom that the guide praises? If the old spots vanish, what's left?
This raises an important question about the paradox of travel.
The paradox of travel.
Yeah, because we all want to find the secret spot, right? Travelers want places to remain undiscovered, cheap, and raw.
Oh, totally. We want the secret dive bar.
But our very presence, the money we spend there, it drives development. We literally finance the neon signs, the higher rents, and the newer, sleeker bars that replace the gritty dives we originally came to see.
Wow. Yeah, it's like the ultimate self-defeating cycle. You love a place so much, you accidentally pave it over.
Exactly. But the guide highlights a really reassuring conclusion about this.
Okay, what is it?
Despite the vanished old spots and the changing dynamics, the core of what made Sosua famous, the warmth of the people and the unmatched nightlife, is still very much present.
So the vibe survives the construction.
Yes. The guide argues that the town has changed, but it has not lost its soul. Because the core product was never a specific building. It wasn't the architecture of a dive bar.
It was with the people.
It was the people and the cultural energy. As long as locals and tourists are still mixing seamlessly and the live bachata is still playing, the underlying mechanism survives.
I really love that perspective. It treats the destination like a living thing rather than something frozen in time.
It's allowed to grow up.
Right. So what does this all mean? When you're sitting down looking at flights for the year, what is the final verdict from our 2026 guide?
They are incredibly direct about this.
They really are. They recap that Sosua in 2026 is still worth every flight, every layover, and every dollar spent.
Whether you go for the beach or the nightlife. Yeah.
Exactly. Whether you're going for the daytime culture or just to walk that famous strip at night, the guide says, if you've never been, make 2026 the year.
And if you have been, they say come back.
Right, because there's always something new waiting for you.
And that line, that promise that Sosua always has something new waiting for you, leaves us with a really fascinating thought to mull over.
What's that?
Well, when a legendary destination evolves over a decade, and you return finding that the dive bars you loved are gone, but the energy remains, you really have to wonder.
Wonder what?
Is it the town that has fundamentally changed over the decades? Or is it the traveler who returns looking for a past version of themselves?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought.
Right. I think it invites all of us to consider how our own favorite travel spots have evolved right alongside us. The geography might be the same, but the traveler never is.
That is so true. Well, as you look at your own travel plans, keep that in mind. Thanks so much for sending in this guide, and thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.